After all the hype and buzz and Beanie Watch, Ohio State USC can finally go into the record books. And not surprisingly, it went down exactly the way we thought it would. I mean, who among us, other than you Buckeye loyalists, really thought the outcome would be anything other than what it was? Saturday night, SC put an old-fashioned whooping on The Ohio State University before a sellout crowd at the Coliseum. The Trojans dominated every aspect of the game, making a very strong case that they are indeed the #1 team in the country. Meanwhile, #2 Georgia struggled on the road against conference foe South Carolina. Somehow they managed to win 14-7, mostly due to Mike Davis's fumble at the 2, which resulted in a touchback for Georgia. Look for #3 Oklahoma to jump them in the polls this week as they thoroughly dominated Washington on the road 55-14. And speaking of domination, what happened to UCLA? 2 weeks ago, after their stunning victory over Tennessee, I thought the Bruins might have a fighting chance at respectability. Then BYU got a hold of them. Cougar quarterback Max Hall tied a school record with 7 touchdown passes, 6 of which came in the first half alone. BYU is clearly a good team, and there's no shame in losing to good teams. But losing 59-0, that is shameful. It'll be interesting to see what New Heisel can do with the Bruins, considering the schedule they have coming up. Overall, it was a very bad day for the Pac-10, with 7 of its teams losing. And like I was saying, there's no shame in losing to good teams. But most of them didn't lose to good teams. September is the time of the year for playing out of conference. Usually that means one challenging game and a couple tune-ups. And anytime a team from a power conference plays a team from a non-power conference, that by definition is a tune-up game. You're not supposed to lose those games. Arizona, despite being a basketball school, is supposed to beat New Mexico. Instead, they lost to the Lobos for the 2nd straight year. Stanford, well, we know you're not very good. Even so, you're supposed to represent against the Mountain West. Instead, TCU handled the Cardinal 31-14. And how about Arizona State, which was formerly ranked #15? Each year, the Sun Devils make us think for a moment they might actually challenge USC in the Pac-10, and then they pull a stunt like losing to UNLV. I mean, clearly they were looking ahead to their matchup next week with #2 Georgia, but they should have won this game 45-3. At least Cal lost to an ACC team in Maryland. But Maryland lost last week to Middle Tennessee State. That's not good. And despite the final being 35-27, it wasn't nearly that close as the Terrapins held the Golden Bears out of the end zone until the 4th quarter. I know. I would have thrown up too. Despite the ugliness, there were a couple of bright spots. Oregon State rebounded well after its embarrassing loss last week to Penn State. And Oregon had a nice come-from-behind victory in Big Ten country, defeating Purdue in double overtime. But let's face it, when it comes to the Pac-10, it's USC and USC alone. They're not only the class of the conference, they're looking like the class of the country. And after the way they treated the Buckeyes Saturday night, I'm not sure anyone will be able to stop them from reaching the BCS title game in Miami. Okay guys, that is it for this week, but don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. There you'll find other cool videos like the Backspin, the Pro Football Week in Review, and Fantasy Lineup. When you do subscribe, be sure to post your questions and comments or send them to srg@thesportsreportgirl.com. And of course, there's always our fan page on Facebook. See you back here for next week for another edition of the College Football Week in Review.